Larvetta, I was probably in middle school when I first realized that there was a calling on my life to not only be a leader, but I knew I was going to also have authority, if you will, over significant amounts of money. And I realized that in middle school. That's where it all began. I was probably 12 years old.
Welcome to Black Businesses Matter, a podcast about why Black businesses matter and the benefits of collaborating and advocating for Black businesses to drive impact. Each episode, we will cover legacy, hope, Black joy, funding sources, cultural shifts, equity, and so much more. We will provide inspiration and action while spreading some joy to a thriving community of Black business owners and leading thought leaders. Black Business Matters podcast is produced by the L3 Agency, a culturally sensitive influencer marketing and communications firm in Chicago, where relationships are our currency, passion is our profit maker, and people are our bottom line. I'm Larvetta Lofton, your host and founder of the L3 Agency. Welcome to another episode of Black Businesses Matter. I am, when I say thrilled, overjoyed, elated to have this next guest on with us, merely because she's my sister, she's my friend, she's my mentor, and she is hard to get. How about that, people? She's really hard to get. It took us a minute, but we are here. And as you all know, we've been talking about relationships. We've been talking about relationships with nature, relationships with business, romantic. We've been talking a little bit about everything. But this young lady who we're about to bring up is going to really talk about relationships with money. I just think she's the perfect person. She's the perfect person. Her story is incredible. And I have to say that I get to learn from her every time she gets to open up her mouth, because the wealth of knowledge that she has in this space of wealth management is serious business, because she is a female. And we've had some female folks on to talk about financials, but I just want to say, and I love it. I love that we've had this diversity. And so I'm excited because this young lady, and I think I can say it, Jackie, she was a former Chase Bank executive. So the one thing that I am excited to bring her up, we're going to delve into who she is and what she is. But what I want the world to learn is her story and her relationship with money. So I want to talk about this wonderful leader in this place of wealth management. Now, I'm calling her Jaq, but her real name is Jacqueline Campbell. She leads the Alexander Legacy Private Wealth Agency. And the part that I want you guys to understand is this is her assignment from God, and we're going to talk through that. But just to give you some background information of her is that she served as the head of diverse advisory engagement program for Chase Wealth Management. So she was talking to all the billionaires and millionaires. That's basically, I think that's what it is. But I want her to really talk about her relationship to money. I know she started as a young high school intern. And so, Jackie, welcome to Black Businesses Matter. I'm so excited to have you as the guest, because you know it took us forever to get you, like seriously.
So honored to be here. Thank you for your amazing patience with me and your flexibility. Just absolutely adore you, Larvetta. Like when we met 5 years ago in Miami and realized that we had both lived in Chicago, and then we both went to the same church and both knew some of the same people in Detroit. I mean, it was just obviously meant to be, right? It was really, really meant to be. All right. Well, I want you to all to obviously feel that we are operating in excellence, because that's one of the things I know when it comes to my girl, Larvetta. Like, she is truly about making sure that us as Black businesses, us as Black women, that we represent ourselves with excellence. And so I appreciate, as someone who just is doing so much to pour in to Black businesses, especially around Chicago and frankly across the country. And so you asked me about money.
So here's what I want to say. You know how, and Jackie, I just love just your energy. And we're gonna talk about your podcast too, because I was blessed to be on that. But one of the things that I wanted to just ask is this. You know how in the movie Brown Sugar, what was your first love to hip hop? So I want to say to me, Jackie, like when did you experience that love for financial and wealth? Like when did that happen?
Oh, that's a good question. You just brought me all the way back to when I sort of kind of experienced my first, I guess you could say, connection to money and to really wanting to learn about money for myself, to want to have a relationship with money, but not the relationship that we all might kind of consider, especially for me being someone that was so young when I actually first experienced my first connection with money. And so I would dare to say, Larvetta, I was probably in middle school when I first realized that there was a calling on my life to not only be a leader, but I knew I was going to also have authority, if you will, over significant amounts of money. And I realized that in middle school. And that's where it all began. I was probably 12 years old. And I remember my mother, she was an entrepreneur. And so she started instilling that sort of entrepreneurship journey in me at that early age. And so I remember wanting to really be an enterprise at 12. I wanted to own multiple businesses, and not just because I wanted to make a lot of money, because I like nice things and wanted to be at the mall every Saturday, which, okay, at that time in my life, maybe a little bit. But what I also saw that money was able to do was it was able to change lives of so many people. I saw my mother take money and we would go down to the projects of Detroit, the Brewster's projects, and every Thanksgiving we would buy thousands of turkey dinners and we would hand deliver them to the needy, because I'm a preacher's kid, I'm a GPK as well. So we were taught that, again, our abundance and our overflow, we were literally just being sort of, God was trusting us with that money, almost as trustees. And that if we were excellent stewards over what he had trusted us with, that he was going to always supply all of our needs according to his riches. And because at 12, I saw when my mother would tithe and when she would make money, how it would come back tenfold. And so I said, I need to learn a little bit more of that. So that was my first initial, I guess you could say, breakthrough.
Yeah, no, I mean, and I think literally for some, and I like that you said it, you recognize that, hey, that was my first connection. And here we are today. And so let's talk about tithing, because you brought it up. So the world says, well, hey, why should I? Can I tithe? I would love to hear your thoughts around it, because you sat in the room with billionaires leading the wealth management over at Chase and now running your own company. What do billionaires think about tithing? Because that's who you are, Jack.
Tithing changed my life. I know as a little girl, I was always taught to give the 10%, and I would go around. I was a member of Oakland Avenue Missionary Baptist Church in Detroit, Michigan. And I remember every Sunday I would have my little tithing envelopes, because if you became a member, you had your membership number with your tithing envelope. And with pride, I would put my little dollar in my envelope and I would take it around, put it in the collection plate. But it was when I was probably more like 23 that I really understood the power of the tithe. And not just the power of the tithe, the sort of, in my world, I call it the mandate of the tithe, the non-negotiable tithe. The least I can do for what God has done to give me 100, the least I can do is sow back. And I just started to see, because at first I was in that trap of payday to payday. I don't have enough money to give 10%. You mean 10% of my whole check? You want me to give that to the church? Back in 23, I think my take home may have been like $2,000 every payday, whatever that was. So you want me to give 200 whole dollars? Because to me, that was supposed to go to my hairstyle. One day I just said, wait a minute. I looked over at one of my best friends and I saw her write this big old check. We were at church, and we were at Salem Baptist Church, by the way, in Chicago. It was time for the collection plate. My little ass got a little big when I saw her write her check. And I was just getting ready to throw like $20 in the plate. And I saw her write her check. And so something just sparked inside of me like, wait a minute, are you doing enough? So I just whipped out my checkbook and I stepped out on faith and I wrote that 10%. Now, mind you, that was all I had left in the bank for that week. But just something about watching her so confidently, and she was 21 at the time, and to watch this 21-year-old, right? I think she wrote $1,000 check to the church as her tithes and her offering for that week. It blew my mind because I didn't know young girls that did that. They were spending more money on clothes or vacations or jewelry or tomfoolery, but not spending that kind of money at 21 and being able to say, I'm giving this to the church. You can tell a tree by its fruit. So I started to really watch her and I saw how God was blessing her. Blessings on blessings on blessings. She was getting businesses and homes, and literally the windows of heaven were opening up for this 21-year-old. And every time she got bigger checks, she made bigger tithes, bigger offering. And I just was like, whoa, I want a part of that. I didn't go lie. I was like, I love it. And so at 23, I just decided I'm going to start tithing. And then by about 27, I took it to the next level and said, not only am I going to start tithing, but I'm going to start tithing and giving in a way that I've never done before. And I started literally tithing and giving 40% of my pay. I was living off of 60, but 40%, 40 cents out of every one of my dollars went to either sow into the church, into a new business, into a family member that was struggling. I literally had a fund that I set aside and 40% of my money went to that fund and that money was dedicated to the kingdom. And what I can tell you about billionaires, now I'm not a billionaire yet, hello, but I will tell you about billionaires because I do work with them. I surround myself with them. They're my mentors and they give up probably 70%. When they pass away, their trust and their beneficiaries will literally, they're going to give away up to 90% of their wealth. There's a thing called the Giving Pledge, which everyone can go follow. It's your world's largest billionaires, and they have signed a statement that's for all of us to see that they, like Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, etc., these billionaires have pledged that when they die, 90% of their estate is going to go back to charity. So I just started looking at people who were not only living fabulous lives, but honoring God with their gifts and being able to give exponentially more than I could have ever imagined. And I just said, I want to be like that. I want to live that life. And so that's kind of how it started for me. And that's the story of my tithing.
So, Jackie, as you just illustrated to us, like I literally was glued to my headphones because I've never heard anyone at the age that you were to build this relationship. It never happened for me. And so just to give you that and then for you to model after it, I mean, it's just incredible. And because what we have to understand is that how we see money, do you believe how we see money is how we see ourselves?
Money is a tool. When we can really step back and see it for that. So what I mean by that and what I share with my clients quite often is when we realize that money is simply a tool. It's like when you have a hammer or a screwdriver or scissors, you use it for its purpose. But what unfortunately society has taught us is that money is some type of God. And it's like more than this tool. And so now you just find that it's been distorted from its original use. And so when I think about our relationship with money, you said when we see ourselves, we have to see that if we see that money in itself is simply a tool, and that it's our job to make sure that we use that tool for its purpose, then what will happen is that you will then start to see that there is an abundance of tools available when you have a particular purpose that you can leverage the tool for. What I find is that we tend to lack the tools when we lack purpose. And so when I'm around billionaires and I'm around winners all the time, I'm actually going to spend 4 days next weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, in Omaha, Nebraska with billionaires for 4 days. And we're going to lock ourselves in the mountain and we're going to talk about world-changing things that we know that those of us that have resources, if you will, what we're being called to do right now with those resources, and that we're being intentional about the resources that we have access to. So when you kind of like pull these people together, what I can tell you, because I was just with a whole bunch of them in Vegas last week, is that many of them, no matter how much money they have, trillions, billions, it doesn't matter. Many of them right now are on a quest to find their personal freedom, which has nothing to do with money. All of them it has nothing to do with money. I have dealt with people who are billionaires, and they, on a scale of 1 to 10, you ask them how free they feel, how actually free they feel. You know what they say? 3. And they don't want for nothing. So that's where when we start talking about money and the core of it, and I have been in a room with people who are poorer than poor. I told you, I grew up going throughout the projects. My mother had me in the projects at 6 years old, delivering Christmas dinners and Thanksgiving dinners and sitting with the elderly and the sick and shut in the Detroit projects, to be in penthouses, private jets. I've seen it all, experienced it all. And it doesn't matter your social economic class, your racial status, white, black, male, female. The sentiment out there is people aren't well mentally, and people are not feeling free no matter how much money they have. And so my hope and prayer is that I'm able to use my platform as a Black woman that's connecting with all types of audiences, from farmers in Omaha to sisters in the deep, that we can figure out how to get well so that we can truly experience freedom and all that comes with it, which happens to be a whole lot of tools. And that those tools include money and other things. But I know it's a long-winded way to answer that question. It's so fresh because I just was in the room with these individuals, and all we talk about is our relationship with money and how do we really feel. And right now, I'm just letting you know it's a lot of work we got to do.
Jaq, what I think you do so eloquently is allow us to feel okay. To me, it's okay that I'm about wealth. Oftentimes it was kind of like, remember, money is the root of all evil. Now you don't talk about your money. Now, girl, don't go in there. Like, we had all of these, and I do call them lies, and that really disconnected us from the relationship. But what I think you do such an eloquent job is helping us to strengthen that relationship with money as a tool, and not as to your point, because we've had secure the bag, but really it's about your mental state. And that's how you got it, is in middle school. Like, you caught on to this in middle school mentally.
I did. I just knew that if we use money in a way, like, so for example, I talk about using it as a tool. So I'll give you a perfect example. If I were to tell you, hey, I want you to take this next dollar and I want you to put it over here, and I want you to let that thing just almost like a seed, and I want you to plant that seed like a dollar over here. And, we're going to water it every day, just like we would our plants. And over time, we're going to start seeing it sprout. But if we stay consistent, then that seed is going to turn into a full apple tree. And so what we just did was, from a mindset standpoint, I'm showing you how to take something that's small and turn it into abundant. But the caveat is, I need you to give it time. I need you to nourish it. I need you to speak to it every single day. I need you to be consistent. And if you do these things, you will have abundance. Many of my clients didn't get to multi-million-dollar portfolios like overnight. It was through consistency. And they decided to choose to use their tools wisely. They followed the method that I've been taught since I was a little girl, which was give, save, spend to win, win, win. And if you do the first two, they will always take care of you. Thank you, Grandma Alexander, who taught me that my tithe, my offering, and my investing in my saving for a rainy day happens before any money is spent. So give, save, then spend, in that order. And by doing that, the first two created a harvest, so that when I was ready to exit my very lucrative 6-figure corporate America job, take a year off, spend it by the lake, watch butterflies all day during COVID, but I was on a pontoon boat living my best life, and then launching a business, and now with 5 employees. That was not me being lucky. That was the harvest of the seeds that were sown from middle school to now. And so what I tell people is that this is not off the table. Whether you're Black, sister, it's not off the table, because I was fortunate, yes, to end up landing in this business as part of my career. And now next year, I'll celebrate 30 years. in the wealth management industry, but anybody around me for any given time, if you just spend at least 20 minutes with me, I will give you $1 million advice and I won't even charge you, because I want people to experience the ability to be free, to be able to, if you need to step away, whether it be from a bad relationship, a horrible job, an environment that's not conducive to your success, we know that money does allow us the ability to experience that freedom. And so my job right now, as I go deeper into my studies, right? Because even though I retired from corporate America and I've been in this 30 years, I'm just getting started on this journey to now take my education, my expertise, and now double down so that I can really be an advocate and ambassador for my people to experience everything God promised us in Deuteronomy. Everything that we've been promised as part of the legacy of Abraham. And so those are the principles that guide me. And anybody who follows me, hey, look, the white man in Omaha, all the way to the sisters in Detroit, they know that I tell them, for me, it's a ministry that I'm in right now. It just happens to be that wealth management for the last 30 years have been my platform. But what we're trying to do is break these generational curses, break these chains, bust down these walls. And in my lifetime, my prayer, my legacy is that we start to see more of us, Black businesses, Black women, Black families experience true financial freedom from the 400 years that we were not able to access. And I'm grateful that we're now in a position in 2022. Again, we're nowhere we should be, but let me tell you, my grandmother is smiling right now from heaven because this is the moment she fought for. She would tell me when I was 8, 9 years old, she goes, you're going to run a multi-billion-dollar business one day. And I would be like, Grandma, what you talking about? Grandma was telling me that at 8. And now I get it because I'm a mother of a 14-year-old and a 4-year-old. And I tell them every day, your inheritance. I speak life. So a big part of the transformation is believing and speaking and then doing the work. The seeds, they got to get planted. This is not the lottery. This is not Vegas. This is life. So if we choose to give, save, then spend every time a dollar comes in, as my grandma would say, the first 2 will always take care of you.
For all of my listeners, we need to take some note, because give, save, and spend is something that is simple. But it's hard to do. And I want to take this opportunity to make sure that our guests who might have just popped in or you hit pause, this is Jaq Campbell. She is the CEO of Alexander Legacy Private Wealth Group. And she is talking about giving us tools to make sure that we have a relationship with money and wealth. And so, Jackie, how can people get more information about you? I'd like to make sure that real quick they can get to Jaq. I know how to get to Jaq, but I need the rest of the world to know how to get to Jaq.
No, thank you so much. And I think it's very important for me just to recap who I am, how we serve. And definitely, I would love to be in touch with your audience. It's my life's work. It's my mission to make sure that you leave a powerful legacy so that your children don't have to start from zero. And so at Alexander Legacy Private Wealth Management, we offer everything from teaching you how to become your own bank, real estate investing, stock investing, tax and estate planning, life insurance, things that we know are important, like creating multiple streams of income. So no matter if we're in an inflationary environment, high interest rates, it doesn't matter, because when you are properly equipped and you have professionals working on your behalf, then you can weather these type of storms. And so that's what we do at Alexander Legacy. We work with our clients who happen to be families, wonderful couples. We work with, business leaders, entrepreneurs. We've started to take on even some entertainers and athletes. But our real mission, again, is really about breaking these chains and making sure that we, on our watch, are setting up our families for multi-generational wealth. So you all can find me. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and under JAQ. I'm probably the only JAQ Campbell out there, I think. JAQ Campbell, Alexander Legacy. And again, we're just super thrilled to be on this assignment and on this mission. And we're helping a whole lot of people who didn't know they needed help, number one. And we're also helping people really start to break through sort of that kind of level 1 of financial literacy and start to really understand how to build wealth. So that's what we do. So I look forward to continuing this journey with you and my friends.
Yeah, and Jack, I mean, first of all, I just want to say this for all of my listeners, making sure that you understand that Jaq had a gift in the relationship with money at an early age. But what she is doing is making sure that while that was her gift to build that relationship, doesn't mean that you cannot have that relationship with money and wealth. But you've got to have the right people. And that's what Jackie said. She had the tools. She had the people around me. She had her mama. She had her grandmother. She had her best friend. That really helped. So I want to make sure people understand that it takes all of that. And I think you did an awesome job with really helping us all, because I believe my community of guests really empower me and help me. And so, Jaq, we ask this question as we close every episode. One is, I do want to ask you, why do Black businesses matter?
Black businesses matter because we pour our heart, our soul, our strength. We pour everything into our business. When we decide to take the leap of faith and start a business, we all know it's no easy feat. We all know that funding for Black businesses has been obviously a taboo subject. We barely get access to the funding, so we're having to burn through savings, ask for help with family, move back home, lay on the couch. We do what we gotta do. And that's why Black businesses matter, is because it wasn't just handed to us. We are having to truly earn our stripes. I think it's so important that we take the time as Black business owners to just pause and say, nice job. Keep up the good work. Because I do think it becomes a thankless job every now and then. You look up, and those of us that are having to make sure payroll, all the way to products are fulfilled, to services are fulfilled. There's a lot of duties that goes on as a business owner, but particularly as a Black business owner. Many of us, we're discounting our services. We're not getting paid. And so those are things that we have to recognize. And most importantly, we have to do commerce with each other if we're going to do the things that I talked about earlier. Break chains, break these walls down, right? Break generational curses. We have to be intentional about saying, I'm going to give my sister or I'm going to give my brother an opportunity to do business with them. And because many of us, we are well educated, so we know our stuff. We have extraordinary work ethic. And again, we are just as smart as some of our colleagues that are making 5 times more, but have that guarantee. We are the risk takers. We're the ones that want to do and make radical changes in our communities. And so we realized that, so we decided, let's go out there and do it on our own. And we need our communities to support us. We need our communities to recognize that Black businesses matter. Because it's not just about the business, but it's about the legacy. It's about honoring everything that we know our ancestors did so that we can be in business today, 2022.
Oh my gosh, Jaq. Every time I ask that question, I'm always amazed of what people say and the why behind this podcast. Just represented it so well in a way that, well, you're right, you pour, you do, it's crazy. And so just listening to it just got chills because of the fact that you can be represented as a Black business against other businesses. So I appreciate that. And Jaq, as we close, because we know we got to get you out of here because, this CEO's got to run and continue to do what she has been gifted to do. We ask this question of what brings you joy?
Oh my gosh, I have so much to be thankful for and smile about. Of course, my beautiful family. Every time I think about them and I think about, I hope I make them proud. I think about that all the time, every day. I pray I'm making my family proud. So when I get the little notes from them that says, I love you, I'm proud of you, keep going, I'm praying for you, that is my fuel. That is better than you know what. When I get that text or that phone call or even that Facebook shout out from my family that says, I'm proud, I see you. Because my family knows the real Jaq. They know more than what the world sees. They know the real intimate version of me. They know the real deal. So when I can get their sort of just stamp of approval, it brings my heart so much joy.
We felt it. We felt the joy that you have for your family. And I think it's felt. When I think about this podcast and why we ask that question, because we want the world to know that our joy matters and that it should be felt, even in our struggles and the things that we've had to struggle and triumph through, that we're still able to have joy and come into rooms and share that joy with others and be lifted and be empowered from it. So I just thank you, Jaq, for all that you do in leading an industry that's not represented with Black women and women in general. So I appreciate you in building and helping others to build that relationship coming from a place of God. And so I just want others to make sure. And as we close, I know, Jackie, we've got to run. I want to make sure that folks, what's your website?
It's www.al for Alexander Legacy, privatewealth.com. So www.alprivatewealth.com. And again, if you forget that, again, you can always Google Alexander Legacy, if you remember that, Private Wealth, and it will pop up, as well as I'm Jaq Alexander Legacy on my other social media sites, just to make it easy for people to find me nowadays. So, because they're like, who's Campbell? So we're Alexander Legacy. So excited to be on this journey with you, Larvetta. Thank you for highlighting Black businesses that
and
matter.
Thank you. Thank you for saying yes. Thank you for sharing us with you, sharing you with our listeners, because really it's stories like this that keep us going. And as Jaq talked about, it's all about making sure that we are building relationships. And Jackie really helped us to understand the relationship with money and making sure that that is a tool for you. Because I love that, a tool for you. So business leaders, professionals, making sure that you have the tools. And if you don't, so Jaq, I wanted to ask you this quick question before we wrap, just because I want to make sure people know, would they consider your company like as a financial planner? Is that also very similar to the things that you all do?
Yes. So I'll break it down like this. So ideally, people tend to leverage us for a few different services, if you will. So I would say our signature service, thank you for bringing that up, Larvetta, is what we call our financial planning and empowerment program. And we do have specific programs for business owners, business leaders, especially entrepreneurs, right? Because we know that many entrepreneurs are really building their business and putting a lot of their attention in their business. And so we tend to, again, want to make sure that from a personal financial standpoint, that while we're building our business, we're still sustainable on the personal side. So we have an incredible financial planning and empowerment program. Not only do our clients get a full comprehensive financial plan as part of it. When I say comprehensive, I mean, I have a team of trust attorneys, CPAs. I mean, you name it, about 32 people on my team that comes together and produces that plan for my clients. So we gather the data, I get it to the lab, I then bring it back to my client, and we literally paint the full blueprint of where you are, where you want to be, and how we're going to get there. So that's number one. Number two, as part of that empowerment experience, I do quarterly in-person sessions where we go deep, where we really start to really unravel the things that we know are potentially holding us back from creating a life of wealth. And so again, not just me, I bring in the experts. I bring in my colleagues from BlackRock and some of the baddest money managers on this planet to make sure that as we're leading you through these discussions, we're not just educating, but my system is called EPIC. So we educate, then we turn it to a plan, then we implement the plan, and then we celebrate your success. And so that is what really comes with the empowerment program. And then I would say last and certainly not least, the thing that I'm super thrilled about is that anybody who decides to participate in that experience will get a VIP invitation to our annual private investor retreat. We have them twice a year. The first one is in Miami. It's going to be in February. Who doesn't love Miami in February? And then we have a second one that is going to be in Huntington Beach, where we're going to collab with another group, where we're going to also not only have our time together, where again, we get to go deep into how we're going to continue to shake up things with our financial strategies, but you also get access to the financial geniuses and experts from all over the country that come to these retreats. And so as an Alexander Legacy client, you get VIP experience, and we don't do nothing small. So I say all that to say that's one of our signature programs. It's something that people have asked me to really produce. And so I'm excited that we're launching that. It's already out there, ready to go. But other people want us for asset management. They want to make sure that as they get access to capital or they have monies in other institutions, we are an asset manager. So we put together a portfolio of stocks, bonds, etc. So we help clients with retirement planning. We help clients with investment management. And then we're also a risk manager. And so again, many of our clients, especially those that are planning to be ultra high net worth, we then sit down and we look at ways as to how to structure your income, to various tax planning, because again, the more money you make, we know the more money the IRS likes to get a hold of. So again, we want to make sure that we are doing some tax strategy, especially for our entrepreneurs. And then we're also looking at ways that, again, we are going to create what we call lifetime income for our clients. So especially those of us that are entrepreneurs, many of us, again, depend on our businesses to produce income. But then what happens during our succession and exit planning? So we start to do a lot of that planning right now with our clients as well. So again, financial planning is the core of how we work with clients, but we asset manage, we do risk management, as well as we're also guest speakers at different conferences and events where we can continue to educate audiences at masses.
Thank you so much, Jaq. I so appreciate you being a guest of Black Businesses Matter. I thank you all for listening to Jaq Campbell of Alexander Legacy. And as she said, this is the time. She didn't go into details, but I know she would. With inflation, she was like, but don't get caught up in that, because if you're doing the right things with the tools, inflation don't bother you. That's basically what she's telling us. So we thank you all for listening to another episode of Black Businesses Matter. Thank you for joining us this week on Black Businesses Matter podcast. Make sure you subscribe to our podcast wherever you listen so you will never miss a show. You can also follow us on social media at the L3 Agency and at Larvetta Speaks. If you love the show, leave a rating so that we can continue to bring you impactful episodes. You can also take the pledge and order our merch at our website at thell3agency.com. THEL3agency.com. Thanks for listening, and see you next week.